All right, go ahead.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for being here. Today, our group will be presenting on the impact of tariffs on foreign direct investment, also known as FDI. This topic may sound a little technical at first, but it's actually very relevant to how global business makes decisions and how trade policies ripple through the economy. We're focusing on two articles, one from the Financial Times and one from the Wall Street Journal. Together, they'll illustrate how rising tariffs in 2025 are shaping the ways companies expand internationally, where they put their money, and even where jobs are created. We're team three, and let's move on. So tariffs are tax placed on imported goods, making them more expensive. Governments often use these tariffs to protect local industries or raise revenue. In 2025, tariffs have returned as major barrier to trade, creating instability in global markets. When tariffs raise cost, companies often turn FDI, building or buying operations abroad to reach customers directly. The link between tariffs and FDI is the focus of our two articles. Why this topic matters now. So the FDI is central to global business, and tariffs are pushing firms to invest abroad. In 2025, tariffs are higher than they've been in decades, creating uncertainty for companies. Understanding the link between tariffs and the FDI shows how trade policy shapes business strategies. Why these two articles? Financial Times provided a policy perspective showing how the U.S. decisions affect global trade. Wall Street Journal provides a business perspective showing Japan's exports struggles under tariffs. Together, they show both the big picture and the real world impact of tariffs on FDI.
Article 1 key points. A trade deal between Britain and the U.S. was formed earlier this year. It established a low tariff import quota for cars and steel from the UK, while some imported US goods would have a decrease in tariffs. This deal creates a conflict among many countries. Imports from the US are having tariffs lowered, while other countries are not receiving the same adjustments. In doing this, the UK is going against the WTO principle of non-discrimination and going against normal trade relations. Why Article 1 matters for FDI. Peripheral tariffs quotas change relevant costs, so firms outside the favored countries may shift to FDI in the US or the UK to avoid tariffs. Favored country firms may expand local investment to lock in their advantage and serve the market faster. Policy uncertainty about who gets preference makes producing inside the market safer than exploring. Uneven treatment can trigger relations and supplying chain rerouting, and firms respond by diversifying production locations through FDI. The overall impact, tariff design influences where companies place plants, jobs, and capital.
So the key points for Article 2, which is about Japan's struggles with exporting, we see as the year progresses, Japan's auto-related exports to the U.S. have continued to decrease. Despite lowering prices on cars sold in the U.S., Japan is still experiencing a decline in demand. A trade deal was made where the U.S. agreed to lower auto tariffs, yet Japan is still facing significantly higher rates than before. Most Japanese goods are experiencing a 15% import tariff in the US. Japan has experienced a decrease in overall exports for several months in a row, with the highest drop being 2.6% in July. All right, and then why this article matters for foreign direct investment. Japan's exports to the US are falling because of high tariffs, even a Japanese firm's lower prices. This creates pressure on companies that rely heavily on US scales. To remain competitive, Japan automakers may choose FDI by building or expanding factories inside the US rather than exporting from Japan. Investing abroad allows these firms to avoid tariffs, stay closer to customers, and protect market share. This shows how trade barriers can directly influence where companies invest and operate worldwide.
The articles work together by showing that trade barriers force businesses to adjust their strategies, often leading to foreign direct investment. The Financial Times explains the policy perspective, showing how US tariffs create instability and shift global trade patterns. The Wall Street Journal provides the real example, showing Japan's export declining and the challenges faced by its companies. Together, the articles connect policy decisions to business responses, showing how tariffs can drive companies toward foreign direct investment. The different points they offer is the Financial Times looks at the global policy side, focusing on US trade decisions and how they create uncertainty in world markets. The Wall Street Journal looks at the business side, showing how Japan's exports are falling and how companies are struggling. The difference is in perspective. One article explains the overall policy impact, while the other shows the real effects on businesses. What we learned by reading both and why it matters for foreign direct investment. The Financial Times shows the policy side of US tariffs creating uncertainty in global trade, while the Wall Street Journal shows the business side of Japan's exports dropping and firms feeling the impact. Together, they give the whole story: government decisions, trade problems, and company responses. Why this matters for foreign direct investment. Tariffs make exporting more expensive. Companies may decide it's smarter to invest abroad to reach customers directly. This changes where jobs, money, and business activity end up. And the takeaway is that tariffs don't just change trade flows, they can shift global investment and how companies operate.
Relating the topic to the class, Chapter 8, FDI. Tariffs are a trade barrier that can push firms towards FDI. Companies use horizontal FDI, producing inside the market, to avoid tariffs. Class connections. Motives for FDI: market seeking to reach customers despite tariffs, and efficiency seeking to cut costs. Host countries gain jobs, technology, and new investments. Home country effects: fewer exports but profits from foreign operations. This shows how trade policy and FDI are directly linked into international business. Relating these articles to the class. The Financial Times connects to the class by showing how government policies include global trade and FDI strategies. The Wall Street Journal connects to the class by showing how companies respond when exports are limited by tariffs. Together, they show the interaction of policy and firm decisions, a core theme in international business, and bring theory of FDI from Chapter 8 to life with real-world examples. The summaries and the key takeaways: tariffs are rising again in 2025, creating uncertainty for global trade. Companies often respond by turning to FDI instead of exports. The Financial Times gave the big picture of US tariff policy. The Wall Street Journal showed the real-world effects on Japan's exports. Class connection to Chapter 8: tariffs act as a trigger for firms to invest abroad, linking trade policy to global business strategy. And the main lesson is tariffs don't just change trade flows, they reshape where and how companies invest worldwide.